the Honorable Willie Stewart is standing
Yes,
by.
sir.
And we are going to be talking about one of the longest standing bands in the history of Jamaican music, Third World. And Willie wasn't exactly there at the beginning, but played a seminal role in terms of the development of the music produced by this great Jamaican band. And Willie, we gonna throw the floor open to you.
Thank you, sir. Well, I must say happy Easter to everybody, and that I know everybody has been closed in,
Yeah.
and it's been a really incredible year from last year to now. But you know what? We're living and we're breathing. So today I'm so honored to be on your show, and I really want to share some insights with Third World and, well, how I started with the group. And looking at it from, we had talked last time, a few months ago, where I can actually see it and talk about being part of it and seeing it as a lay person then. Nothing, I'm not demeaning anybody, but just as a standby, and not associating myself with the band. And I told Richie this, and I don't think today you understand. Once you're still playing, you're still involved somehow. So but you can now, I can sit back and look at it with eyes from a different viewpoint,
True that.
So that is what, and I would love to, in this beautiful presentation that you have allowed me, is to share some of the songs and the journeys and stories that probably people we don't even know that those songs ever exist, because you're always in Third World have to play the hits. And when I say that, it's what the record company calls the hits. Is the people think. So the more and the older you get, it just shows a shorter, no matter how much new songs you put in it. There's staples that, so if Third World was really supposed to play all the hits from day one, coming up the line.
Well, guess what we're going to do, Willie? We are going to, because, you sent us that list, but I want to touch a song that, what the song on the track?
Don't Cry on the Railroad
Don't Cry
Track.
on the Railroad Track. This one was before your time, right?
Yes, Prilly Hamilton singing.
Right. And so we want to introduce the listeners to, Prilly Hamilton was the early lead vocalist of Third World.
Yes.
And then we're going to dive into a little of the history and pull you back in, Willie. Don't Cry on the Railroad Track. Third World with Prilly Hamilton leading. Yes, Willie. So, I want to take the listeners all the way back, because in the Jamaican music evolved largely out of the role that band players made in terms of the contribution, because we were playing a lot of big band music in Jamaica from the 1950s. In fact, that was the kind of upper class entertainment, and over time that transposed, given the role that places like Alpha Boys School in terms of its music program, it turned out musicians like Clues J from Clues J and the Blues Blasters, the iteration of the Scatterlights that we came to recognize. But alongside them, there were a myriad of different bands. Inner Circle, Lintate and the Jet, Byron Lee and the Dragonaires, Tommy McCook and the Supersonics. And so that band culture, in my way of thinking, would have led you guys at the time as youngsters, certainly the ones who started Third World, Cat Core, Ebo Cooper, and so on, they gradually came together. I know you're gonna expand on that story. Prilly Hamilton, who came in, I think Cat Core had a band called the Alley Cats or something like that.
Right.
Correct.
And they basically pulled from Inner Circle. Prilly Hamilton, Richard Daly came in. He used to play with Ken Booth's band, and and I think he played Ken Booth's band and Tomorrow's Children band. So it just gave an indication of the diversity, because in those days, the late 1960s, 1970s, in addition to sound system entertainment, the band thing was a big thing in Jamaica in terms of providing musical entertainment. And so it was out of that. The first drummer would have been Barovia, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Carl Barovia, and he too came from Inner Circle. He was, and he came with Carrot Jarrett. So that was the formation of the band. And in those early years, they were mostly playing sessions in nightclubs, eh? They were basically a session band, which means that they play everything. You can play funk, reggae, rocks, everything, right? And you better play just like the sound system, because if not, the sound system going to eat your food, right? And
that's very true.
And so ultimately, the band formed up by 1974 when they released that song, Railroad Track. They did some work with Winston Chung, but they never, the work wasn't published, wasn't released, I think. And ultimately they were touring, the band was touring with the Wailers. In fact, they backed the Jackson 5 when they were back home in Kingston in 1975. So that was the beginnings of Third World. And so you fast forward 74, 75, into 76, they were touring a lot with the Wailers. And I think that was around the time that you came in. Take us through the
All right. Well, what happened is that they were playing. They used to play out their beginnings when they were that group that you just talked about. Mm-hmm. They would start to play like at hotels, like in Montego Bay every Sunday. They used to practice on the poolside, and shortly after that, the drummer changed to Colonel Barovia. To Colonel Marshall.
Colonel Marshall, right.
Colonel Marshall become. Carl left for some reason. I wouldn't know that history, but Colonel Marshall came in. And so they started to play like North Coast and start to play the normal circuits like Montego Bay every Sunday. People came from, in fact, Montego Bay loved them from day one. And they wanted to create their own original songs. And they wanted to be a show band, which was not an easy thing in Jamaica at the time, right. Especially the time everybody wanted to dance.
Right.
And I remember, believe it or not, there's a gentleman at Meadowbrook. I used to do also promotion in the early stage, and Mr. Chin from Meadowbrook. And we used to put parties on for the young people, like old spring break at Casamonte. And this time we decided we're going to have Sheridan. And it was a band clash, that was important. And at Sheridan, we brought in Third World. And I think it would have been no generation gap, I want to believe.
Right.
And so there was a clash. Now, everybody come, they sit down and wait. Generation gap come in and mash it up and think, dance-wise. Then Third World comes with a new idea of playing like for show. Well, the people sat down, and I wouldn't say it was a perfect show at the time because Jamaica wasn't ready for it. So after the show, we had to tell them, boy, it's going to take time to move. But they stayed towards their conviction to create new music. They played at Epiphany, and then they decided that they was going to go England. The offer was there that they could go to England. And then that's when they started to work along, got signed by Ireland, right. Chris Blackwell, and opened for 4 shows for Bob Marley. No Woman, No Cry, that live version.
Right.
Third World had opened that show, and they did 4 then. And they started to become very popular, playing all different places. People loved them. And they worked on that same Green album that you just played.
Right.
And came back to Epiphany about 8 months later after doing an incredible tour, doing recording. Mash up. I mean, the news was phenomenal. Couldn't believe. So I went to see them when they came back to play at Epiphany, because they were fantastic when they left, but they were playing cover songs, maybe 1 or 2 of new ideas, know. And then when they came there, they sounded good coming back. And then they had a show Saturday at University. So I heard them like the Thursday at Epiphany. and then they had a show Saturday at university. Whatever happened, a change happened. But apparently, Cornell left the band. So a week later after that, I'm in the plaza, it's Christmas, and I'm in the plaza, Ligony Plaza, shopping. See Richard Daly, and Richard said, you don't hear what? I said, what? He said, boy, we start checking audition, different drummers, maybe 8. And boy, Ibu said, and Kat had said that the only drummer that could come in the band is Willie Stewart without audition. Because over the years, our association within a circle,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And he said, boy, I said, what? But he says that there was a drummer that I was thinking of that used to play with me. And, you know, I was in happiness too. And I let him take up happiness and show him certain things. And him saying, play like us. So they were thinking about it. So I said, where Ibu is? Him say, Ibu down Linstone Crescent. I go down and I say, Ibu. Him say, what? I said, boy, we just talk about you. You know, we talk about you're the only man who come in the band, but you know your work, because I was sales manager for my brother's company called Miracle Corporation. He says, but we know we can't pay you, you know, because I said, we don't talk money. What you saying? There's an opportunity? Yeah, man, I will come. Ibu had to go sit down on the chair. Call Cat. Willie say, would I come? Well, boss, in that time before Christmas, we had to practice the whole show, learn, and my first show with Willie Stewart in the band was at Baskerville at Playboy Club.
Playboy
you believe
Club,
it?
right.
New Year's Eve night. Yeah.
What year that was?
Well, if I say it, there's a competition going on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, it's all right. I'm gonna leave you with that. Okay.
Well, let's put it over. It's in the 70s, early, mid, you know?
Around the middle to the early part of the 1970s.
You know?
All right. Well, Third World.
Go ahead.
Third World released an album. The first album was called Third World. And that song we played, Railroad Track, came off it. We want to touch 2 more pieces off that album. And then we're going to come to that period with the Explanitations show, which previewed the second album, which would have been the 96 Degrees in the Shade album. God, we had to run out the first album, right? So, this is your time now with Third World, because by the time the second album, you would have now been ensconced in the band. Am I correct, sir?
Yes. By this time, we would have Bunny came in.
Yes.
After I was, in fact, we went to, after I told you that I entered the band and I worked at the show in New Year's. By about 6 weeks, I was in San Francisco promoting that Green album. It was a pleasure because I had to learn carnal licks and learn all the things. And we were touring for 7-8 months in America, San Francisco. We lived there in San Francisco there for about, I'd say at least 5 months, 5.5 months. We would go to LA and we'll play all the different shows, opening for universities and all that. Play the Sunrise Strip, you know, the famous theater in LA that every band play. All of that we went through, learning the ropes. Right. Because I think what Chris Blackwell wanted to do is to put us out there so they could see, and for us also to get, being able to play with the American audience and show how that the whole system was. We end up driving all the way to play in Denver, come right up to play Bottom Line in New York. Cut the story short, we went there, and Bunny came to that last show. Prilly was the lead singer. And I would say it again, that was a group with Prilly that introduced America to Third World. And then when we came back to Jamaica, Prilly left the band. And then, but funny enough, Bunny came to that show at Bottom Line.
Right.
And within 2 weeks, he was in Jamaica. And then he came in and the transition came in. Then we started to work on album. Our first show was the Carib Festa at Carib.
Right.
And we played there, and then bam, we started to work on the album. So 96 Degrees was started. In fact, a part of 96 Degrees, we went to Chicago to record part of it and came back and started to work out of Jamaica, out of Harry J's studio, which was a great feeling.
That's on Roosevelt Avenue.
Yes, Roosevelt, because that album, to me, was us coming together like you have rough average, you know, militant young people, and we were just trying to get our teeth in and still had certain things. So the group was gelling there in a different way. You'd say more militant style. you know.
The 96 Degrees wasn't the original name of the song. The song was called 1865.
Yes.
Right? Because really a celebration of the Morant Bay Rebellion.
The Morant Bay Rebellion, because what happened is that we know that Paul Bogle, how it was in them time and the whole thing. So we put it to music. When you say the big fat boy, I was Governor Aird and him soldier them and all that. And you know, and imagining using the music to depict the feeling of 96 degrees in the shade. In other words, the hanging is cool. You're under the shade and it's 96 hot. You're sweating. And imagine how our great heroes must have felt. Because at them times, you could have talked till you're weak. Them been no business. You definitely are a slave. It done this. So even though it must be gone a long time, you're supposed to be, they still kept that rod on us. You know? So the whole...
What I want us to do is, because that song, for me, it was how I kind of really fell in love with the group. Because I remember, I think the explantation show is what was used to launch the album. We spoke about that last time we were here.
Right.
I am learning this week that it was Dr. Hicklin, Freddie Hicklin, who was the chief medical officer at Bellevue at the time, who was the producer. He basically, what was his role? Let me probably just think to ask the question.
Well, what happened is that Colin Leslie and you know Colin's married to Elaine.
Yes, I know Colin Leslie. Yeah.
Colin was managing the band. So they wanted a new band coming together. Them came with a kind of program. Hicklin was brought in to oversee certain things and come up with some theory of bringing a group together.
Right.
And then this whole idea evolved from it. So Hicklin started, he came in as a producer and ideas and said, oh, he would play our music. I don't know what that was, but we'd be up in the hill and he would play, I'm not to see them I come, and then put on 96 and like to show us where we stand. And so we were able to get the story together. We came up with the explantation, using our music to explain a whole situation coming from that time, showing our music verbally, acting, and showing that journey, which tied in 96. And the way we talked about, it was very talking about that time of, you know, how when we're enslaved and a whole heap of buying in the selling in the market, and we're going to feel a little better because we get a little, all that showed that. So we were able to bring it back into a show, which was called Explantation.
Let's give the listeners, Willie, a little taste more of that. We're up on a break, but just want to give the listeners a taste of 96 Degrees in the Shade. We're going to run to a break. When we come back, we're going to look at a couple more songs on that particular album, and then you take the discussion some more. 96 Degrees in the Shade.
Rhythm of Life. And for those of you who are listening, we started out with 1865, 96 Degrees in the Shade. Came on with Dreamland, Jaglory, Human Marketplace, and we just finished up with Rhythm of Life.
And just want to welcome to the studios the erstwhile Dr. Dennis Howard. Dennis Howard, we always want to have you, and especially in a historic program like this, we just want to welcome you. Willie, you met Dennis, have you?
Met Dennis. Me and Dennis is good friend. Don't see him long
a good thing we never have no bad thing to say. Dennis never tell you not about bad about Willie. Did I?
No.
Yeah, you see?
Yet.
We have to learn.
Willie is my great friend, man. Love his family, everybody.
Yes, Willie. So
respect you, sir, Dennis. Respect you,
man,
sir.
Respect.
Yeah, man. We need with your. I know there's some big books and things coming from you soon.
Several already. I have a few of them.
Yeah.
Yes. So and I will tell him where to get them, Dennis. Don't worry about that.
All right.
But seriously, Dennis, I know you have a couple of your own observations and a couple of pointers, questions that you wanna throw at Willie. which is all designed to increase the informational and educational value. Because that's one of the things we're trying to do with Sunday Scoops, is to educate and to inform. But Willie, we were on the point where so this is where you came into the band with the 96 Degrees in the Shade album. And you were with the band for how long?
I left the band in 1997, which would be about 22 years.
22 years, that's a whole heap of time. But you actually started playing when? 75?
Yes,
leave
sir.
that
No
alone.
big thing. Yeah, man. That is the end of 1975, the end.
Okay. So
that was the New Year's. That was the New Year. So I brought in the year 76, playing the Green Album at Baskerville. Maybe who knows? Maybe Dennis was at that
always
show.
call it the Green Album. The album named Third World.
Man.
The Third World. That's how we know. The Third World. Yes, sir.
It was the initial
I was
Third
at
World
the
thing.
show.
Yeah?
You was.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Listen. I've been following. Following Third World from the days before the albums, when they used to perform as a show band. So I saw them at Carib in the early days when they were performing BT Express song. Here Comes the Express, and songs from Barry White, Satin Soul, and all them stuff.
Yes. You know what?
Some reggae songs.
Yeah, you know the song that I used to love when I used to sit and watch them was Summer Breeze, Isley Brothers. Boy, them would have play a sweet when they play coming like the record and chat on that guitar.
On
wicked.
the guitar. Yeah, man, I remember, man. Awesome.
In fact,
I loved Satin Soul because there was a nice guitar leading. They really did a good job of that song. So I've been a fan for many years.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Respect you.
For
Thank
a
you
lot
for that.
of us, when Third World started, because as a youth come from around East Kingston, I was working at the library. In fact, I just left Camperdown, Dennis. I left Camperdown the Wednesday and went to the Tuesday was my last day at Camperdown, and my first day at work was the next day. I went to work at Tom Redcom Library. And this would have been 1976, 77 when they had the Explantations concert. It's just not even 100 yards up the road. And, the tendency, we were youngsters in the library staff. Most of us were fresh out of high school and so on. And so my contemporaries would say, turn a little uptown band, and boy, they can't play music. You know that Dennis, right?
Yeah.
Some little uptown rich boy them up try a thing.
Yeah. And especially that Cat Core's. Cat
Core father was
David Core.
Was a minister
Education.
of minister of foreign affairs. In fact, he was a deputy prime minister. And so and then all of them boy live at Linstone. When you tell a man say you live at Linstone Crescent, Beverly Hills, you're rich boy. I may tell Dennis.
And I lie.
I'm rich.
But hold on, you hit one worse thing, that you're practicing at Vale Royal.
Oh,
that hit the maximum of everything.
But the difference was though, is that this was a band that was appealing to a different section, because we tend sometimes to look at reggae music as just ruffian and ghetto youth and thing. Everybody listened to the music, but the music was catering to a broader cross section of the Jamaican population.
Yeah. But you know what, Richie? Here's the problem. And this is the kind of tunnel vision or a tunnel review of our music. Because Third World, listen, these guys, irrespective of where they came from, they were representative of what was happening in Jamaica. Because Jamaica back in the 70s, was is a soul country,
Right.
The dominant music was R&B, whether we want to like it or not. That was the fact. R&B was played on the radio stations. All of the sound system them in the inner city were primarily soul sets, and they played a predominantly soul music and not reggae music. So you had, we can go over the whole heap of songs that had soul in their name, and they were not known as sound systems; they were known as disco.
Discotheques, yeah.
So everybody was trying to be like the American. That was the standard, and a lot of bands started out as show band, like Third World, and show band had to do every music. They had to do the stylistics, they had to do shy lights, they had to do, they were involved in jazz. Third World was a band who was playing music from Tower of Power, which is not a regular band that most people would know of, even in the soul arena. But they were thinking about Ahmad Jamal and all of them people there. Willie was when he came into the band was a fan of Fela Kuti and all of them things there because of the African drumming and all of them stuff there. So they represented a different side of our music, and love the reggae part of it too, you know, and love the Rastafarian part of it too. But were integrating to a greater extent the R&B and the soul aspect and the funk aspect of the music, because it wasn't Third World alone. Inner Circle had a little bit of that. You had bands like Chalice when they came out had a similar kind of vibe in terms of thinking in a more broader way and not necessarily just about the roots reggae, hardcore roots reggae. So we'll love to sometimes like believe that, you know, roots reggae was the predominant thing. It wasn't.
And on that
we need to stop rewriting history.
Absolutely. On that note, Garth drifted into this set, Willie, to sort of highlight Doc's argument. You know, the fusion of the music. You express it better, Dennis.
Yeah, well, you see, a lot of people talk, you know, we love to talk about how Jamaican music is pure and reggae is pure, and when the now generation tries to do anything different, they are rebuffed and say they should go back to the basics. But Third World and Bob Marley and the Wailers were fusing the music from the 70s.
Yep.
And Inner Circle, they forget an album called New Age Music by Inner Circle, and then check out all of the Third World album. Pure fusion from high life to Latin to R&B to funk to jazz to mento to Naya Bingi. They merged everything in their music.
And you're right on that. You're right on
yeah.
that, because I started out the show with Kumina off of the Green album. And
right. Willie, the Green album. Yeah. But Willie, I want to hear from you, because this is a critical juncture, and you were there. You know,
Yeah.
What was the thinking within the group?
Well, Dennis had it dead on. And if we go back to even Ska, the man that was listening to the cube for Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Ska, it was really blues beat they were playing. And so from day one, in what became Ska was
it's a fusion.
It's a fusion. And we know when the mental music was a type of calypso, Belafonte did it commercially, and Lord Fly, it go way back. So it was always a mixture of music. What happened is that during that time, the Ska was playing, and so we'd love it, because I used to catch Byron Lee, you name it, Hurricanes, Keschin, all of the bands, and it would marvel me, because coming from England at the age of 11.
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yaawdmedia.com, where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise, and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.